Hello, people. Today, let us talk about something equally scary, interesting, and something when we think about after a lot of time, even makes us feel a little adventurous. And that is nightmares. So, nightmares are nothing but bad dreams of extraordinary structure. Now, what are bad dreams and what are nightmares? Like, as I was thinking about this, I started to remember the many nightmares that I have had. Okay. As soon as I had woken up, I would think that, this is a nightmare. But now I look back and I think that no, those were, looking out at the traffic out there, the amount of, the people at the queue at the metro rail, the crowd at the local train, and the the fact that you might not get a bus whenever you want to, and the cost of Ola and Uber, it makes me think that just sitting at home and thinking about your nightmares make me feel more cherished and happier. Okay, now the difference between a bad dream and a nightmare is something that you get to decide. Okay, it depends on the kind of person you are. The kind of person that I am, usual things that are nightmarish are happy to me. For example, that other day I was dreaming of, like I was taking an auto through this very deserted street and through this very rustic old place, and having conversations and misconversations with complete strangers, etc., etc. And it was a very gloomy, cloudy day. But now that summer is coming, summer is on the way, and I'm looking back at those nightmarish situations, scenes, I feel happier to think that I could have the courage to, like I don't even know what was I doing in the dream. I was riding an auto, okay, like passing through a very quaint, remote and god-forsaken place, and it was extremely gloomy. What exactly was I doing? Of course I was, like just taking a ride, maybe. I was at the same time enjoying the scene. It was, like kind of a gloomy scene with, like empty brick walls with no proper decoration on them, no names on those households, quiet empty street, but I was feeling happy. But when I woke up, I felt gloomy, of course, because I usually stay in this very bustling and very usually busy city. And then suddenly, when you see these dreams, you wake up thinking that, oh God, how am I, like, you spend these few a few minutes, might even be seconds, thinking that how do I get out of there? But then you look around, you see your people, and you feel like, okay, I'm at home. Okay, but, but now You know, as I was planning a trip a few hours ago with my father, that we needed something, we have to go out. And I was thinking that, oh my God, how busy the place would be. But still, I need to go there. It made me feel happy. Like, if only I could locate that place in my dreams and forget and do nothing about it. So, this is something that makes me feel super happy and interesting. Now, what is the other nightmare that I had? The other nightmare that I had was that, I dreamt of this person that I knew long back, that they are sleeping beside a water body and ocean, and a kind of a huge wave is coming and it is about to take away that person. Trust me, it did happen. Like the person walked into such a bad situation in life that they got lost forever. That did happen. Another very bad nightmare that I had was that I saw that, there were these, like I was walking through these empty spaces, like this very empty field, and there were lots of ladders, lots and lots of ladders out there, empty ladders. Okay. And I don't know why I instantly remembered my father. And I feel a bit of concern, but I also feel it bit interesting to link things of usefulness and heavy work and things that get things done, important things, with either my father or my mother. Like whenever I see a clock, I think of my mother. Why? Because she's that punctual. Whenever I see things like bikes, vehicles, um, people out there, maybe office spaces, buildings, ladders, shops, business houses out there, think of my father. Why? Because I think that is how I have always seen my father from my very childhood. And I think that, like I have always seen him that productive, like, I mean, call it sheer luck. My father was always linked to one or the other shopping arcades or some very important spaces out there. He was always this person who was at the top of his, I mean, he's still that person at the top of his game, doing the most important thing out there, being very administrative and helping people from every rung in that space. And I don't know why, but later on, when I started to analyze this particular dream, okay, I could understand that I was being lazy and, of course, a bit superficial. And I imagine, and maybe in my sleep, I imagine the ladders, and I was like, where is my father? Like it is my father who is going to get me out of here. But then that dream was also linked to something else that usually happens to me, that I get to see on a daily basis in real life. Okay. And that is, see, my father works at this shopping complex in the city. And I usually take a auto ride to that place. It is a few kilometers away from where my house is. And whenever the auto drops me there, I give my father a call that, I have reached the place. Uh, where are you? And my father's office is at the fifth floor at the shopping complex. And he usually comes out at that landing right before the escalator or the stairs, and he waves at me with a very broad smile on his face, all happy and cheerful because he is at work, and he sees me and he does this wave. And I remember my father like that, like I would just walk into that space, pass through the security check, and I would wave my father, who usually is up there. So that I could relate that, that nightmare of mine had a way of telling me that, I was probably in a situation that was getting me stuck, and I was not just okay with it. And the only person, see, my mother is that punctual. If I complain something to my mother, she will she will start questioning me. That, it is you who has got yourself in this place. She is very strict and very, like, she questions me. I don't know how she is with me and my father both. She questions us that, why did this happen at the first place? So I usually, like my father is the, like, people tell that, she is like, this girl is a spoiled brat because of her father. Of course, her parents, but especially her father. And I accept that. And, I like, whatever happens, the first call I make is to my father, ask him to help me out. Another nightmare that I remember is that I have this wallpaper of an underwater scene in one of the rooms in our house. And I remember that one day I walked into that room and I could not find that underwater wallpaper anymore. And I was that scared. And, as soon as I woke up, I said that thing to my mother that, where is the wallpaper? And my mother is like, what wallpaper? Did you order a new wallpaper for the house, or what is it? And then she told me that, and I told her that, okay, wait, I have this dream. At the same time, I remember this another incident where I was walking into this, you know, into this very empty field, maybe somewhere inside the household. And had a feeling that there is a storm coming, and the blades of the grass is, like rustling like this. And I felt a little sad that my parents are not here to look at the storm with me. And I had a feeling that people from inside the building could see me, and they were telling me that, okay, fine, wait. I understand that a storm is coming and everything will be bad after that, but yeah, your parents are coming and we are happy. And you know, like in my case, nightmares are so confusing and filled with a bit of happiness that I can't even complain about nightmares anymore. Like, I have this book. It is called that book on dreams by that psychologist Freud, I think. And I once I started thinking about my own, I started to read these books, like this particular book. And trust me, all of those instances, like all of those examples of nightmares, I have had those nightmares, but they were filled with one or the other such instances of happiness that I could not continue to complain from the beginning till the end. because they were not entirely a nightmare. It is as if, like you see that there is this dream where you are getting drowned in the ocean, but then suddenly you have this person who has a vehicle which can be driven under the ocean, and they're coming to fetch you. And you had this entire plan that, okay, today I'm going to, talk about this thing to my friends, but you just can't when you wake up. Why? Because that nightmare had a bit of happiness in it. So is it something that we can be mad about? That there is nothing really that we can complain entirely in this world. Like, I remember that song from Megan Trainor, I think. She says, "No one's listening." Like there is this line in that lyric where it says, "No one's listening." Really, it sometimes feel like nobody is listening to our problems. But you know what is worse? That our problems are not entirely problematic. But what can we do if our problems are not serving us anymore? Our nightmares don't kill us anymore. Our nightmares do let us wake up in the morning and be funny and productive and create new problems and still, like go to bed with aspirations for more nightmares and still be happy. So, if we can't even complain about nightmares, what can we complain about? Probably nothing. And oh my god, is this life the real nightmare that we are living? Just think about it. I cannot pass the day without complaining. I mean, oh my god, complaining is my favorite thing to do. Like top level favorite. Like I will never trade complaining with anything else in life, you know? But when I can't complain, what do I do? It is a career advice I think I need. I need a career advice. Like for so long, I have been very much productive about being a very offended and angry person. But all of a sudden, even my nightmares have a bit of happiness and I just can't complain anymore. So what do I do? I be sad about it. And eventually I start to see that my nightmares are getting happier than my real life. Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with us? I I don't know. I need a proper explanation for this. It might be that there is something wrong with us, that we can't complain anymore. And we seek inspiration and entertainment from our nightmares. But that also makes me question one thing, that whatever we have been so entertained and inspired from, were they such happy things or were they sad things in life? Were we getting entertained and inspired from sources of utter sadness, emptiness, depression? See, I don't understand exactly what it means to be a nihilistic person. I mean, a nihilistic person is a person who doesn't care, who doesn't believe, for whom nothing matters and everything goes into a place of no. Now, if nihilism doesn't create narcissism and sadness, emptiness, that imaginary island that I keep on talking about, then I don't know what else will it do. Does Nihilism help us. Now, for people who understand uh, simple language, I'll tell you what nihilism is. Nihilism is something that, first of all, it is something that doesn't let you function in a happy, productive, speedy world. Nihilism is a behavior, is a belief that a lot of, like, like from my, I know people among my college classmates, they would declare themselves that, I'm a nihilist. I don't believe. I don't believe in nothing matters. Nothing is important. I just believe in the nothingness. Now, see, if you ask somebody, if you ask a person like me, that does anything really matter? I'll tell you, everything matters. Shopping matter. You know, visiting a shop where from you can or you cannot buy something matters. Being out there for your friends and family matters. Self care matters. Buying a very costly thing and later on regretting about that thing does matter. It matters to me. It should matter to you. You are not getting away from life. Being poor, being forgetful, being unproductive, sad, depressed. Pocket money matters. Taking a taking a vacation that you can explain to your older self matters. Lying to your friends do matter sometimes, yes. Taking phone calls that you thought you would never receive matters. Jewelry does matter. Loaded cakes loaded with an unhealthy amount of cream matters. Salads that are not healthy because of the dressing, because of the sweeteners you have used on them, because of the heavy amount of protein and, oh my god, cheese and chips you have used on them does matter. Extravagant fashion does matter. You know, a very self satisfying source of happiness and health also matters. Being crazy about having or not having a very good view in front of your workplace. Like maybe you are sitting at that work desk and you don't have that very particular view. It does matter. Everything matters. You see this really beautiful curtain behind me? I remember when I moved into this household, I had gone to this shop with my mother, and I had picked up this curtain, and she and both of us had suddenly looked at each other, me and my mother, and we exchanged this beautiful smile. And we still, like, whenever it rains a bit, see, the summer is coming soon. I am looking forward to that monsoon. You know, whenever it rains, what me and my mother does is that we remove these curtains, you know, and we sit and we take pictures with these curtains in the background, and we have our cup of coffee and pakora. We enjoy an evening snack. We play Sunday suspense, ghost stories, and we love, you know, these small little things. Staring at the ocean water also matters. Everything matters, you know. So if you are a nihilist, and like how to understand nihilism in today's world, it is very, see, because it is such a speedy and it is such a um, confusing world at the same time. Sometimes it gets very difficult to stay at the top of your productivity game, and at the same time, it becomes a bit difficult to understand what you should do to cope up with this race, to cope up with this crowd, to cope up with this thing. Like, The other day, I was out there taking the train, the local train with my mother, and I could not figure out that, despite so many roads out there in the city, so many people were taking the local train, and the train was, oh my God, so crowded. But the train ticket is comparatively cheaper to other modes of vehicle, and it lets you to travel from one end of the city till the other at a very cheaper cost. But then sometimes I find it very confusing to understand that what we at this point of our life should be more concerned about. Should we be more concerned about adhering to a cheaper way of lifestyle, or should we be more concerned about staying a bit away from the crowd and having a rather expensive lifestyle? This probably is also an answer to the climate change that we are going through, isn't it? See, whatever your situation is might become similar to the climate concerns out there. I remember this thing that the thing is, see, people, it is a reality that global warming is a concern. Sometimes I feel really, really scared to even turn on the lights in my room because I feel like, what if we could shut down the light, cut out on a bit of electricity, turn off the internet, like not even use the air conditioner for this summer, and it's okay, like get sweaty a bit, but still we get to cool the earth down a bit. What if we actually pledge to eat a more greener food? Cooling the earth down should be something of a top priority for anybody out there. Okay, why? Because it is a very important thing. If our earth turns brown, it loses out on all the, you know, all the greenery. See, I understand that everybody is working on it, and we are not going to lose out on all the greenery. There is no way. There is no way. But population explosion is also a reality. Now, let us talk about some real life nightmares. Okay, but of course, with a hint of happiness. Okay, now, isn't it very interesting to think that till now, nightmares were something that were limited in our dreams, but suddenly, when we think about these concerns like an economic crush, oh my god, and at the same time, the global warming, we not able to pay our electricity bills because we will not be able to live without the air conditioner anymore. If we start to live constantly without the air conditioner for a few years, our Earth's temperature might go down. That is a reality. But then, have you thought that there are so many companies that sell air conditioners, and so many people work with those companies? These manufacturers, their families, the children out there, who are going to help them? Who are going to help them? How are we going to solve all these things? Like the other day, this neighbor of mine was telling that the area in India that we are in entirely, like, I don't know how much truth is behind this, that this is going to happen or this is not going to happen, but what she told me is something that has happened in the past, and there is no way that we human beings will be able to stop it unless and until we work on it. Okay, so what exactly is it that I'm talking about? She was telling me that this zone of the country that we are living in might be submerged underwater. The ocean from the nearest oceans, the nearest sea might end up flooding our very spaces. What is it that we can do other than relocating, moving people, being conscious about these things? So these are the nightmares that we just can't avoid. But what are the things that we are doing to build up day to day nightmares? Maybe, you know, not thinking about possible poverty traps towards the first half of your life is going to build a real life nightmare. Then again, maybe not going to think about the health of your parents, yourself, your mental health is going to turn into nightmare right from the middle age of your life. Not able to find something that you are going to be occupied with and also monetizing it is going to be turned into nightmare towards the later stage of your life. Okay, now there are many other kinds of traps, nightmares, nightmarish situations that I've spoken about. See, I am a very funny, cheerful person, and I like to talk about things that make me laugh. But when there are some things which makes me very sad and very and have constant unhealthy thoughts, then I must seek to speak. Okay, seeking to speaking, right? This is the condition that might be of help. Now just think about it, people. Have we been able to communicate about our deepest and darkest fears to our neighbors yet, to our family members yet? Chances are that you have communicated this to your best friend, but not maybe you have communicated it to yourself, your idea of God, or maybe to a spiritual person, but you might not have communicated this to even your partner. Does that work? Well, it does. And this is what gives rise to nightmarish situations at night. Okay? What works? How does it work? I'll tell you. Let's say today you feel like, there is a concern. Okay? And, there is this quote from Harry Potter where Dumbledore says that, of course, it is in your head, but it doesn't mean that it is not true. Something like that. It means that if you are having a constant negative thought, constant fear, like, constant fear is something that I'm going to talk about recently, in my coming videos. Well, if you have a constant concern, constant fear about something, then you must put it out there. Okay? If you find yourself maybe at your workplace, maybe at your neighborhood, you're not able to speak about it, then I'll tell you that the older people, the elder ones, those who are very senior, the senior citizens, they are usually all ears. This is the beauty about having the courage to befriend the senior citizens. They have a beautiful, usually these are the people that they give us a respite from this mundane and kind of stupid life that we usually get stuck in. These are the people that save us from trauma. And I'll tell you, whenever you find yourself a little stuck, and of course, therapy is costly. Therapy is costly because of its own very much viable reasons. Speak to a senior citizen, whoever you are in contact with. It might be your grandmother, it might be a neighbor, it might be, a shopkeeper. Have a friend, have friends from the senior citizen group. I'll tell you, it sounds funny, but not to me. See, these are the people who need your help. And just like, I was mentioning about the celebrity, the athletes, the 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 film stars, the filmmakers, okay? The rich people out there, they exist. They become successful because we become successful. We have good things in life because they choose to perform, because they choose to create good things. We get to see good movies because they choose to create good movies, happy movies. Okay? Now, just think, the senior citizen people, they exist because we are happy that they exist, and we exist because they are happy that we exist. Otherwise, there might be a war on it. But do we even take this seriously? That, these people, I have this building, an old age home, very much closer to my household. It is just 1 to 2 minutes distance. Okay. And I see that there are some elderly people who sit out at the balcony, they do their things. And I really wish that why would people move them out just like that of the household? Were they that cranky? Were they being that sad? It might be the case. I'll tell you, not everyone is that happy and cheerful. And this video is not really about talking, whether justifying or not justifying the existence of old age homes. So before you start to think like that, uh, please keep it in mind that I am not talking about those things. The world is enough happy and the world is enough sad. And I just want to exist in a space where I am having an equal conversation with everyone. Okay? So I find it very relaxing and very happy to have a conversation with the senior citizens, with an elderly people. And it makes me come out of that conversation with some really good human beings, with some really good ideas, with some really good uh, happy people. And I really like that. And I'm not even going to talk about the good amount of advice I get. And you know what? See, just like you need advice, they also need places where they can be the source of advice. Please understand these people. Okay. Now, what is it that we are doing on a daily basis to add to our nightmare? If you are a kind of person who has constant bad dreams and you cannot find one single happiness in your life, then I think it is okay to move on from something and just carry on with something else and be super happy. But if you have that constant fear, it might be a regret that is sitting so heavily on your head, or it might be something that doesn't let you function well at your workplace. Maybe you want to pursue something else. Maybe, the money is a concern. I'll suggest that it's okay to live a bit nightmarish life for some time and go after it. But give yourself a deadline that, I am going to pursue this career, this passion that I might not be successful in, but I still will follow it, maybe for 1 or 2 years. And then I will see that if it doesn't work, I will try to channel it in a very different way and I will still be productive. But what exactly is it that makes, following your dreams, following your passion against reality nightmarish? It is when you go into that drive blindly. See, initially, any kind of things feels like a, you know, Alice in the Wonderland kind of thing. You start to have these, like, there are these sayings that she learned to be a winner when she fell into the hole from that Alice in the Wonderland book. So when we take up life this way, just ask yourself that is courage, is that constant supply of affirmations, positivity, something that you are okay with? Ask yourself that are you okay with constantly hearing that, yeah, this will be successful? I'm sure it will be successful. If you are not that okay with it, then please be sorry that you picked up that passion as the only thing that you do with your life. And don't, you know, follow that path anymore. Carry on with life as is and still be happy. You know, like, see, you might have put this idea in your head that it is important to be a certain way, important to do a certain thing in a particular way. But suddenly, you just can't think against it, even though it is not serving your goals. Now, ask yourself, do you even have goals? Are you even attuned to reality? There are many examples out there where people were not attuned to reality and they have achieved great success later on. Many writers, many rich people today, they have done something completely off the track, rags to riches stories. But is it something that you and your mental health can afford? See, people today, the most fantasy filled things can become a reality if you have money. And this advice sounds very negative to me, I understand. But I also tell you that sometimes you need to just be happy that you have a source of livelihood and be energetic and be fun. Now, coming back to the topic of nightmares, I'll give you this thing, you know, like recently, I remember, like, my mother was sharing a nightmare that she had seen, but it was during her afternoon nap. I don't know what is the name for a nightmare, a bad dream that you see when you are having your afternoon siesta. But and she was telling me that, like she just asked, called me and asked me to hold her hand, and I held her hand, and she told me that, she has fallen into this, you know s- something like, in her sleep she was telling me that I've fallen into a bucket. And I just could not understand the meaning of this, but it did make me feel scared. And I don't know. But then I held her hand, and to make things funny, I made a scene about, I'm trying to pull her out, and in Bengali I told her that, here, I am, like pulling you out. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. And she was like, like this, that sleeping, and she was like, okay, okay. And I did that for a few minutes, and she was like, yeah, okay, no, fine. And she went back to her sleep. And I was very much amused at that. And I felt that, you know, like, like it is very interesting to think that what might have made her think that way. And also, it was interesting for me to think that, you know, just the fact that somebody has pulled her out of that bucket makes her feel, even in her sleep, that she's just fine. It is a bit crazy, but it is also funny. And the thing is, I was wondering that, um, like, one day I had a dream that there was this robbery at, like, I was like, everybody has this dream, I think, when they're climbing a tower. And like, I don't know what it means, but it is something that we all see. And like, and there are these robbery dreams, then dreams of water. These are all nightmares. But interestingly, I dreamt that, I was in the tower, and I knew that, this, like, even in my dreams, I could tell that this is not going to be a very good dream. And I, I was visited by the usual people, my parents and my grandmother at the tower. And they were like, you are getting late for studies, so just calm down. And they were there with the vehicle, and they took me out of that tower, and it is as if nothing has happened. I didn't even get to be sad and gloomy and scared about the nightmare I've just had. Okay. So coming back to life, you know, nightmares are no longer going to serve us people. Nightmares are just going to be there as a very redundant and as a very, um, like, yesteryear thing. I believe that nightmares are not going to be a part of our uh, lifestyle anymore. We probably will be able to afford more things than we could. We probably will able to afford, uh, to go to that vacation, attend that place, be happy, etc., etc. Now, did you have any nightmare recently? It is interesting to think that, just like that cool uh, weather. Like, I remember there is this storm called Kalbuishaki, around June, July. We just don't have these kind of storms anymore. But back then, during my childhood, we would have these dreams. Like, our windows would be thirst open, and we would hear this bursting noises in the neighborhood, and we would have these dreams. You know, I mean, dreams. These storms, very heavy storms, right in between summer, and then it would start to rain, and like all these, like, dried leaves all strewn in the streets, etc., etc. But we don't have these kind of storms anymore. Similarly, we don't have nightmares anymore. So nightmares and storms are gone, extinct, just like many animals out there. Extinct. Do you know, people, what extinction means? Like, recently I was reading about this thing. Extinction means Like in zoology, there is this division of animals. Okay, like there is this family, there is this class, species, etc., etc. Extinction means removal of a species of a particular animal from that list because they are dead, they no longer exist. Are we happy about that? Are you happy about that? I bet you are neither happy nor sad. Why? Because you just don't care. And honestly speaking, we didn't even get to care. We couldn't even afford to care. How can we afford to care when we were not even aware of how our world works? Today we get to do whatever we can do, whatever we want to do, not caring about our world. Now, what is it that you think you can do to stop the real nightmare that we are facing now? And that is extreme levels of global warming. Like, there is this thing called the tipping points, and the tipping points mean something that, when the temperature of a area passes the tipping point, it means it is time for us to take action. Like today, if you just type on Wikipedia tipping point in temperature, you will be able to see that these areas with the tipping point temperature is marked in red. It means that in this temperature, people will become sick. Like I'll tell you one thing. Just the last year, summer, like from my balcony, there is like from my like just a few steps from my balcony, there is this little uh, passage to the main road, this little alley towards the main road. A person died of brain stroke because of the heat. See, I am not going to question whether we have uh, put out glasses, jars, and bottles of water for each other. Have we done those things? Are we doing those things for everyone out there? I'm not. I'm sure not. But are we going to do those things and take care of the real life nightmare? Yes. Now, as we move together to solve these issues in life, doesn't it make you think that who gets to care for our feelings? Who gets to care for our feelings? Our sadness, our unhappiness. Who gets to care for these? See, the longer we decide to stay quiet about the most scary issues at hand, it might be some kind of harassment that you have faced in life. It might be some kind of a person who has bad mouthed you in the past. It might be some kind of a bad human being that you have long back uh, felt that need of cutting out on, but you couldn't. It might even be a pressing uh, issue. Okay, if you have not spoken up about it, then who will? Nobody will, because chances are people are scared. Chances are people know it, but people are not that articulate. I'll tell you more about this, how to, raise awareness, how to be in that zone where you get to point out at things and continue life as is. But that requires a bit of patience and continuity, and you need to trust others in this. That those who you think are the worst might, if given some time, turn out to be the best people that you have ever worked with, ever seen. And that is what can turn real life nightmare into a rather equal, happy, cooler place to live in. Okay, now there is another thing that I wanted to talk about, that once you are moving out of that imaginary island, that landscape where you just couldn't exist anymore, what can you do? You will feel that the life that you have been living for so long is a kind of a nightmare. And probably you will feel a little, you know, sad about yourself. It might happen, regretful. Like, there was this incident. I'm not going to give out the full details because it was very sad and scary. There was this person, probably an engineer in this city in Calcutta, and they were into doing something that was very scary. Like it was all over the news when I was in college, and it involved some scary rituals, etc. And you know, like when the neighbors got to know about this person, and this person was, like this person was taken to the rehab center, given all the help. After recovering a bit, the person felt super regretful, and the person took their own life. How sad. As a society, we could not help the person revive. As a society, we could not help the person be. Isn't it extremely sad? I think it is. I think it is very sad. So, a part of ending the nightmare of not being able to speak up, not being able to show up, is also somewhere related to us not being able to say the truth, that maybe we need help. Just say it out loud that you need help, and help will be out there for you too, people. And you need to trust that you deserve help, you need help, even though you are not helpful. You don't need to be helpful all the time to be deserving help. But if you deserve to, you know, be heard, then I think you better start to speak the truth. You need help. Tell out loud what is it that you need help with. Think. Take some time to think. You know, you might start to see something that you are not okay with. Maybe it is something about yourself. Maybe it is something about your family, your career, your choices, the language you speak, your sense of modesty. Maybe it is not at the same standard as your surrounding requires you to be, but you still need to speak up. Otherwise, you're very much welcome to live in a cage of nightmare. And that is very sad. That is very thrilling for the others, but for you, that is very sad. You might see the space inside nightmares and overthinking is very comfortable. It is very cozy. It gives you a heightened self of productivity, heightened self of, you know, extremely positive self image. But can you help anything or anyone with that? Similarly, just the fact that you were helped, you also need to take note of those actions done to you by others, actions of help, actions of gratitude, actions of generosity. And you need to learn from that and you need to be helpful as well. Okay? So, coming back to nightmare, I hope that you lead a life that has a bit of nightmare in it, but also maybe you need to, like just think about it as something that is also going on in the world, and may you have the courage to work on it. Okay?